Hi, and thanks for watching episode 11 of our Trader series. My name is Vincent and I work at Maven. Today I would like to discuss volatility a bit further and also the last Greek called Vega. As you can see, we are still busy with covering options. And let's start by re-evaluating what are the inputs of an option. Some of them are quite trivial and some of them are just outright a property of the option. Let's say the strike price is there and the time until maturity are all fixed measures. The most interesting input really is the implied volatility. And I would like to explain a bit more in detail what implied volatility really is. So let me first be very clear that there are two types of volatility. The first one is called realized volatility and it says something about the past. So this would be like, say, a timeline, and this would be like the movement of a stock. A stock moved up and down again, and so on. But this is today. So all of this is in the past, and we would refer to all the movements in the past as to be realized volatility. It's some sort of a standard deviation. So it looks like, let's say, on every past day, it looks at the closing price and makes a standard deviation out of it. Well, it's not required to know all the details, but as a rule of thumb, if the volatility, sigma, is 16, the stock has been moving on average 1% a day, which is an interesting metric also since it's linear. So if you ever see a volatility being 32, it used to be moving 2% every day. Implied volatility, though, is forward-looking. So basically, if we talk about an option, the option is to be expiring in a year from now. The implied volatility is the number you put in the option model, in the option pricer, and it kind of makes an estimate of how much you think the stock will move in the future, which is an unknown, of course. So what do you think are factors that affect the implied volatility number? Well, there are plenty of discussions around this, but a couple of straightforward things are like, well, if this period would be a year, you try to predict a year ahead, then why not use the number that from a year ago? Well, it is some estimate, but there are some better estimates, I would say. But first, hopefully you by now understand what the difference is between realized volatility in the past and the implied volatility number that goes into our option pricer to estimate what the future will entail. In fact, it's an average of what the market thinks the stock will move until expiry in the option. So last time we discussed these profitable gamma trades and we tried to discover what is a fair price to pay for an option in order to profit from these trades. And it goes a bit like this. First, you analyze the price of the option. You can just go to the market and see how much do I need to pay for this actual call option, so in euro amounts. Now we have to reverse engineer the option formula and retrieve the implied volatility from that. So it goes a bit like this. You can observe the price of the option. You can decide, do I want to buy this or not? Many of these inputs are fixed or known, so you can track the stock price at any second. The strike price is fixed, the time to maturity is known. Interest rates are close to zero and they don't move that much. And dividends are either known or not there yet at all. So if you know all these things already, and you know the price of the option, you can kind of reverse engineer what the implied volatility number is that is assigned to that particular option. That number could be something like 32. You know what it means, right? Because if it's 16, there's some sort of 1% daily move priced in. So if the number is 32, 2% is priced in. So that's what you're going to do. You analyze the price, you reverse engineer, get your implied volatility number, and now assess if that's cheap or expensive. So if that number is 32, it says the option, there's priced in the option that from now until maturity, the stock on average will move 2% every day. That's what's priced in. And it's up to us to decide if that's cheap or expensive. So if you think the stock will move more than 2% every day on average, then it's cheap. And then it's cheap, and in that sense you would buy the option. You would buy the option, you pay the dollar amount for it, and now hopefully the stock starts moving around as we saw before. And those trades are then profitable, and those trades will outweigh the price you paid for the option. That's how you should do it. So you make money if the actual realized volatility during the period, the lifetime of the option, outweighs the price that was the volatility that was priced in. there's one other way of profiting from volatility. That's the easier part. Since if people buy options, in general, the price goes up just because of supply and demand. So if people buy call options, buy call options, buy call options, the price will go up naturally. How would they do that? How can you kind of make the option more expensive? Let's say the stock doesn't move, so the stock stays where it is, all else is equal. So the interest rates are the same, dividends are the same, the stock is not moving at all. Still people buy call options, for example. How would you make the price more expensive? Well, here are the inputs again. The only way to make the option more expensive is to raise this implied volatility number. So you make the number from 32, you make it 38 or 40, right? So if you already bought the option and the demand comes there, raising the implied volatility, you can make a profit already without the stock moving at all. It's like making money on the implied volatility. So option traders can buy options and profit from implied volatility rising. Because if you bought the option for $5 and this number increases such that the option becomes worth $6, you just make a profit. So there are two ways of making money from volatility. One is to play that nice little gamma scalping game. And the other one is just to buy the option, and if the implied volatility raises because of supply and demand, you make a profit as well. So the associated Greek with this is called Vega, and it says something like, for every point the volatility raises, so the volatility goes, for example, from 16 to 17, how much does the value of the option change? So here I have two graphs again. Well, this straight line is again the expiry graph. But this would be the graph of an option that has a volatility of 16. And the purple one is a graph that represents an option that has a volatility of 32. So you can see that if the volatility is higher, the option price is much higher. So that we already knew, that the more volatility there is, the more time value there is. But you can also see now, if I raise the volatility by 1 point, how much does the option change in price? And we call that Greek, we call it Vega. This is the mathematical definition. So, in summary, realized volatility is a measure of past stock movements. Implied volatility is something that's forward-looking and looks at what is priced into the option. If you buy options, you can make a profit in two ways. First one is that you can make the gamma trades as described before. For that, you need the realized volatility. Basically, as you go along, the actual stock moves need to be outweighing than what was priced in the option in the first place. And the second way of making money is to just buy the option and make a profit from changes in implied volatility. We call that Vega trading, as opposite to gamma trading. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this session about volatility and Vega, and stay tuned for further episodes.